Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with the patch notes 6.2c rundown. A couple of things to mention. Firstly, it seems that nowadays Wild Rift releases the patch notes one day before the patch actually goes live, which is what it used to be a long time ago, and then they start to release it on the day of, like a couple hours before or even sometimes after the patch goes live. So good that they now release it one day before so I can actually make the video on the patch notes and go through it before it goes live. Now secondly, for some reason, it's named patch 6.2c, and I'm not sure if you can actually see it here, but there is, yeah, this one. So there's patch note 6.2c adventure mode hotfix. So it went from 6.2b to 6.2c on the 8th of August, and now it's going to 6.2c back to 6.2c again. So that's a little bit confusing in terms of the naming convention, considering they used to have the adventure mode changes as a patch in itself, and then this would be then 6.2d. But they named it C, so it's a bit confusing in terms of naming, but I guess it is what it is. Anyways, now we're not gonna waste too much time talking about that. Let's jump into the champion changes. So first off, Nasus Siphoning Strike is gonna give more stacks when you use it to defeat champions, large minions, as well as large monsters. And I'm not sure what this damage is, but this is if you ignore this, basically means he gets more stacks if he uses it to last hit a champion, a large minion, or a large monster, basically helping him scale faster, which I think is sorely needed based on the fast pace of the game ever since patch 6.2. So pretty nice buff for Nasus. Still don't think it'll make Nasus that good though. Now Senna apparently has a really low, like 47% win rate, although personally when I play her, I don't think she's really that weak, so I'm not sure why her win rate is so low, but because of her low win rate, she's getting a buff. Extra 2 base AD as well as extra 300 base HP is pretty significant in the early game. And then you have your passive attack damage increase per stack. Instead of 1 is now 1.25. This is actually pretty huge because this means that for every 4 souls you get 1 extra AD. And in the course of a game, you're gonna get a lot of souls. Let's say you have like 80 souls, that's 20 extra AD. So this is a pretty huge buff to Senna, especially in the mid to late game. So pretty nice buff for Senna there. Jay's also getting a buff. He gets 4 extra AD, which is really significant. Now he is one of the strongest level 1s in the game because of how he has basically 2 abilities at level 1 instead of 1. So this is going to help out a lot in his early game, but I think they're actually targeting buffing Jay's jungle. Because if you notice, the damage to jungle monsters increased from 50 to 80 here. And also here, so it basically is buffing his jungle clear directly, right? So they want to buff his jungle clear and make Jay's jungle a thing again, which is pretty interesting. Damage through acceleration gate also increasing slightly, and then the lightning field damage, which is not the most relevant, increasing slightly as well. So overall, just a couple of buffs to Jay's. Now next up we have Vi. So I don't really think Vi needed a buff because I actually think she's one of the best junglers, but somehow she's just been getting buffs even though I think she's like S+ tier jungle, right? So this time she's getting a cooldown reduction, not cooldown reduction, charge time reduction? I think this is meant to be cooldown because you don't take 14 seconds to charge your Q, but I believe this is cooldown, so the cooldown is getting reduced at the lower ranks, which just help you use it more often and just makes her just better, and the ult cooldown also decreasing by 10 seconds and 5 seconds respectively. But essentially, this just makes Vi a lot stronger, and I think she's going to be one of the best junglers on the patch, right? So Kha'Zix also getting similar treatment, getting a 480 buff. Basically every champion so far is getting a 480 buff, except Nasus more or less. And then his Q cooldown is going down by 0.5 seconds at every rank, and the damage is going up by 10. Now I think this is a very nice way to kind of buff Kha'Zix a little bit, because 480 helps out with his clear a lot, helps out throughout the entire game. As I always say, base AD buffs or like base stat changes are very, very significant because they basically affect the entire rest of the game. The slight buff onto Q also is really great. I think Kha'Zix will be a lot better now, and I think it's a really huge buff. A lot of champions are getting very, very meaningful changes when it comes to this patch. Kalista is another one getting a change. 0.5 extra AD per level means a total of 7 extra AD. Not the biggest change, but a nice change, considering how Kalista is currently one of the 2 worst ADCs and in the meta, the other being Twitch, which we'll get to later actually. But the rend base damage is actually going up from rank 2 onwards by a decent margin, and the AD ratio is also going up by a decent margin. So overall, a very nice buff to the Ren, which of course is Callista's main damaging spell. Now, I personally don't think this is going to make her good again, but it's definitely going to be a step in the correct direction. Jinx also getting a little bit of a small buff, same 0.5 extra AD per level, and attack speed per level extra 0.5 per level, which is going to mean a total of 7% extra attack speed at max level. So again, minor nerfs to Jinx, not a huge difference, right? So Twitch is actually getting really sizable buffs. Firstly, his AD per level is going up by 1. So this is 14 extra AD, and of course, free AD stats is going to be good. Now, I would have liked it more if they buffed his like base AD or like, even his base health, for example, but him getting any buff is great, right? So Contaminate his E is getting a huge mana cost reduction of 15 at all ranks, and the damage is finally going up, right? So the bonus damage per stack is going up from 30% AD to 42%, and the AP is remaining the same. So of course, AP Twitch was a menace when it was great, so they definitely don't want that to come back again. So they're buffing, of course, only the AD by 12%, which is a really huge amount, especially if you build a more AD-focused build, like if you build crit, this is going to matter a lot, right? And the Spray and Pray cooldown is going down by 10 seconds and 5 seconds at the earlier ranks, and the bonus AD, the bonus AD you get is now increased by 10 at all ranks. So that, of course, is going to be a very big deal. Extra 10 AD from here, extra 1 AD per level from here, and extra AD ratio from the Contaminate is going to just make him a lot better. Now, I personally, on first glance, don't think this is going to make Twitch good, but I think it is hopefully going to make him not trash, right? Because currently he's like utter garbage, right? I haven't played him at all. Actually, I played one or two matches of him in the new patch, but he's just obviously still as bad as he once was. After this latest round of buffs, we'll see if he's good, and if and you guys can expect the Twitch video sooner or later, right? So who is great is Mbessa, right? Mbessa has been dominating in both top and jungle for the longest time. She's getting a 480 nerf, which is a very big deal. As I keep mentioning, base AD changes are huge. Then her passive damage is going down by a very significant margin in the early game, but just by a little bit in the late game. So damage cut, cooldown going up by 2 seconds on her Q as well. So overall, another round of buffs to Mbessa. They're slowly chipping away at her bit by bit. I think sooner or later she's not going to be that strong anymore, but for now she still is, and I think with these nerfs, I think she's going to be a little bit weaker, but probably still decent, right? Or good, even. So Kayle, base AD going down by 2, and base AD per level going down by 0.5. Now, a lot of people have been kind of complaining that Kayle is really strong. Now, personally, I've never seen it. I played against Kayle, and I never really ever gotten destroyed by a Kayle before. I can kind of see the logic though, and apparently she has been destroying people, which is why she's getting a nerf. Her E bonus damage is also going down in terms of the AD, and that's because apparently Kayle now likes to build Bloodthirster and like crit because of how strong crit is, which makes sense. So she's getting a round of nerfs in that department. Now Corki, who I have said that is the best ADC, is getting a nerf. The 20% true damage that you get from your passive is now going to 16%, which is a 1/5 nerf, pretty sizable, and the bomb is going down by 10% bonus AD, which is also a sizable nerf. Now in terms of items, Hullbreaker is getting slightly stronger, 5 extra AD and 5% extra movement speed, and it's every 4th attack instead of 5th attack deals bonus damage. Now I still think Hullbreaker is a lot weaker version of it, like the new Hullbreaker. I still think it's very niche. It's whoever wants to build it will still build it. The buffs are not very huge, right? Tier buffs are pretty huge though, because instead of triggering 3 times every 12 seconds, it's now 3 times every 10 seconds, so you can stack faster. Same goes with Manamune, it's now every 10 seconds, and it's gonna, instead of 15, it's now 18. So remember, it used to be 10, and they increased it to 15, and now it's 18, probably because of the fast pace of the game, right? And of course, Archangel's and Winter's approach is also getting the same treatment. Actually, Winter's approach is not. It's not getting the mana spent buff, but it is getting the 3 times in 10 seconds instead of 12 seconds buff. So definitely makes sense that the tier items are getting this buff, because as I said, the game pace is really quick now, so you definitely want this to charge faster to keep pace with the game. So Yoral Sunfire Aegis is getting a adjustment, max health going down by 75 in exchange for 20 armor, and the build path is slightly changing into Ruby Crystal and Cloth Armor instead of Kindle Gem, of course, to accommodate for the armor you're now getting. Bloodthirster is getting another nerf, right? So, firstly, 100 gold price increase. Secondly, the armor and magic resist get cut by half. Now, the thing is that I think this nerf is significant, right? 100 extra gold matters. cutting resistances by half matters. But the thing is that whoever builds Bloodthirster is still gonna build it because there's just no better item to build. Like, I cannot imagine Bloodthirster being nerfed to a point where Collector or Essence Reaver is better than Bloodthirster, right? So most people are still gonna rush Bloodthirster as a first item, no questions asked. So I think that despite the nerf, Bloodthirster is still gonna be OP. The only question is the nerf enough to make other champions who abuse Bloodthirster, for example, champions who don't traditionally build Bloodthirster, champions like Kale, Yasuo, or Yone. Like, Yasuo and Yone are not really Bloodthirster users. They build crit, but Bloodthirster is not really what they normally build, right? So are the nerfs going to be enough to make these non-traditional Bloodthirster users stop using Bloodthirster? I think that's kind of more of what they're targeting rather than the ADCs directly. So we'll have to see how that change really affects things. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video and enjoy the new patch, and goodbye.